The ascension of Jesus in the beginning of the Acts of the Apostles shows the apostles standing there, staring up into the sky, staring off into space. And who could blame them? Because this Jesus, who had radically changed their lives, whom had loved them and whom they have loved, is now gone from their sight. And if we've ever been in a circumstance where we are apart from our loved ones, maybe someone's moved away, maybe somebody's died, it would not be unusual for us to stare off into space and wonder. Not only that, were they just wondering at his being gone, but what it all meant and what they were called to do next. There's a good thing about that staring off into space, and that is that it kind of reminds us that our hearts long for something more than just this material world. Just cutting the grass and cooking the meals and cleaning the house and going shopping and going to work. There's something more to life than just that. And our hearts kind of long for it. So sometimes we just kind of, we don't even know it, aren't aware of it, but we just kind of stare off into space. Friday we went to the bank to drive through, and I was waiting for the teller to come back, and I was staring off into space. He comes back and says, "Sir," and what? Oh, okay, right. I don't know where I was, but I wasn't there. There's a longing within us for that. Not to be tied to the earth. Some in here are old enough to remember Simon and Garfunkel. Remember that? Back in 1969, they put out a song which was called El Condor Pasa, or If I Could. And in it, the refrain says, "Away, I'd rather fly away, like the swan that's here and gone. A man gets tied up to the ground, he gives the world its saddest sound." Its saddest sound. Tied up to the world like there's nothing else but this, gives the world its saddest sound. Because we were made for more than this. And to be tied into God, who is beyond us, even though he is in our midst, but who is the transcendent. Something more than here is a deep longing within us. And sometimes I think that's kind of like at the basis of addiction. I'll get my high someplace because I just can't stand being tied to the ground. So I'll get it through booze or through alcohol or through buying stuff or through food. I'll get a high somehow. We need it. But God is saying in Jesus, look up, look to him. You don't need to become addicted to get a high. There is joy in knowing and in being in relationship with Jesus Christ. And knowing God's presence in our hearts, feeding that presence by prayer. The good thing about looking up. There's also a not so good thing. Because they were looking up there, and these two guys in white clothes comes up and says, "What are you doing staring off into space? Get with it." Because, they asked Jesus right before the ascension, they said, "Are you now going to restore the kingdom to Israel? Are you, God, going to solve all our problems? At least mine. Come and solve my problems. Make everything okay." And Jesus basically says, "I'll help you. I'll be there. But you got to be part of this too, because I send you as witnesses to what you have heard. And how you know me, and to my presence in this world. I send you as witnesses, meaning you and me." I ran across an odd statistic recently where it said that when Elvis, you remember Elvis? Okay. When Elvis was alive, they said there were 48 known impersonators of Elvis. Now that Elvis is gone, there are 35,000 impersonators of Elvis. Why? Because when Elvis was here, we didn't need all that many because he was there and he could provide that entertainment experience. I wonder if they're going to be Prince imitators soon. But now that he's gone, these other people come and they put on their costumes and they go and sing. And they dance or whatever, whatever for Elvis. Because people still want to have that entertainment experience. There's a little bit of an analogy here in that Jesus is gone from our sight and we need to have the experience of Christ here on earth. So in that sense, there's an analogy. And in this sense, there is not. Because when those impersonators get finished with their act, they go home and take off their costume and then continue, and wash their hair, and then continue with their real life. The difference is that in following Christ, this is our real life. We are to know Jesus Christ. We are to know God in His presence in our lives. Through our prayer, through coming in contact with Him, through nature, through goodness, through love, however we do that, and there are many ways that we do, and then to be that presence, not to put on the act, but to be that presence in the world today. And in this way, I'll tell a story. First, there was a woman who had a dog who was sick. So she went to the vet, and the vet says, take a tablespoon and give this dog a tablespoon of this medicine every day until he's better. So she started doing that, but dogs and spoons. So she took that spoon and jammed it down there, and it didn't go pretty. It didn't go well a whole lot of time. So one day, when she was trying to do this, she accidentally spilled the medicine on the kitchen floor. And the dog went over and lapped it up. What does that tell you? Well, it tells me that the dog didn't like it jammed down his throat. The method of delivery wasn't so good. But the medicine wasn't that bad. In fact, he licked it up. And that's kind of the way it can be with religion. You ever had anybody beat you over the head with religion or with the Bible? Then kind of resist it even though you believe, don't you? Yeah. It's like, I believe this, but I don't appreciate being hit over the head. The best way to be witnesses to Christ in this world is to do what He did in the way that He did it, because it becomes part of us. So I could talk about this for a long time. I'm not going to. I'll just do one thing. Jesus Christ came for the gospel, proclaim the gospel, which is good news. So questions we could ask ourselves is what I say good news? How much that what comes out of my mouth is negative, critical, pessimistic, demeaning, picking on somebody else, gossip? How much of it that comes out of my mouth is that? And how much of it is in good news because Jesus is the one who came to preach good news? So the good news might sound like this. You look like you're down, but I want you to know I'm with you. I'm really behind you. Or to compliment somebody, or to encourage somebody, or to forgive somebody, or to ask for forgiveness. It's that same kind of a thing that Jesus did and would do. Good news is what needs to come out of our mouth to be witnesses to Christ in this world. And maybe eventually someone will catch on and say, you're awfully good. What's behind that? Or we end up saying, I believe in Jesus Christ. Yeah. Well, you don't have to. I'm just telling you what's behind it for me. This is what's at the basis of my life, which gives me hope, gives me direction, gives me strength. This is what my life is about. It's why I do the things I do and the way I do them. You are my witnesses, He says to us, to witness to the world. Mother's Day, of course. And I'm wondering if moms have ever had this experience where everybody in the house looks to you to make sure it's clean and you take care of the shopping and you take care of everything, and the kids try to get out of it. Anybody, moms, ever had that experience? It's like, Mom, you do it. If we hide long enough, she'll just get kind of frustrated and do it herself. I did that a time or two. But it's kind of the same thing. In order for a household to work well, everybody, once they're old enough, needs to be a part of it. And then it works well. That's how it is with the church and the church in the world. When everybody's a part of it, it works well. Jesus is ascended, but he's here, still here in us. So, two things. To look up, meaning to look to God, to have a real relationship with him, to know his presence in our life, and two, be a witness, to be the presence of Christ in this world today.